On today's episode of Video Marketing Madness, we have a very special guest, Mike Sear from Virtual Railfan. And if you want to get out and shoot videos like rail fanning videos, well, what do you need? You need a lot of great equipment. And who provides that great equipment? It's our good friends over at Movo. Whether you need to have a microphone, a stand, a light, or pretty much anything else, head on over to raiselinks.com/Movo and see all the great video tools they have available for you right now. And with that, let's hit the music.
He's Ray the video guy, yeah, Ray the video guy. His skill is where it's at, even if he's a little fat. He's filled with video expertise and has so much knowledge that you need. His YouTube ninja tricks can make your marketing so sick. He's Ray the video guy, yeah, Ray the video guy.
It's the radio show about video marketing madness with Ray, the video guy, and I'm Steve Sleeper. Hey, check out my YouTube channel, Steve Sleeper Trains. Steve Sleeper Trains. It's apropos that we have Mike Sear from, he's the CEO of Virtual Railfan. And, well, first of all, hi, Mike. How are you?
Good afternoon, guys. Thanks for having me.
And Virtual Railfan, it's a way to railfan from the comfort of your easy chair. So, Mike, tell us a little bit about yourself and Virtual Railfan. And I read it, before you answer that question, I read a story on the Union Pacific blog where it talks about how you and your partner started up Virtual Railfan. So take us through that whole thing, if you don't mind.
Well, it actually started about 12 years ago. My business partner and I, Justin Cornell, loved to railfan in a little town in South Georgia called Folkston. And Folkston was one of the players early to the game where the city saw the importance of railfanning tourism, and they went ahead and had a platform built for railfans. Chairs, Wi-Fi fans, and a nice covered platform right on the main line between Waycross and Jacksonville. And that was a place that we always loved to go and watch trains. And it was funny, one night we were hanging out on the platform, and these two gentlemen in front of us, one said to the other, he said, hey, it'd be great if there's one of those webcams here where we could watch trains from home. And that, I think, was kind of the point where the proverbial light bulb went off in my head. And I said to Justin, I said, hey, we could do that, right? And of course, back then, live streaming video wasn't nearly what it was today. It was, basically its infancy. And so after some discussion, we decided to have a go at it and approached the city of Folkston with our idea that we'd put a live webcam up, we'd stream it out to the world, would advertise the local business and bring folks, to Folkston. And so we set up a meeting with the city, went up there, pitched our idea, and the city of Folkston told us to go home. They said there would not be a webcam, and there certainly would not be any advertising of local business. And at the time, that's when we met Dixie McGurn, and she stood up at the end of the meeting and came over to us and said, do y'all want to put up a train camera? I said, yeah. And so, we kind of told her what we wanted to do, and she's like, well, I own a building here on Main Street, and you put that webcam on my roof. When do you want to get started? And so within a couple of weeks, we spent a whole ton of money on, the best camera that we could find. I think at that time it was an IQI camera. So it was a couple $1,000. And, so we put the camera on the roof of Dixie's building, which was at the time a framing and shop. And they did sandwiches and touristy, gifts and stuff. And so that was the kickoff of that. And of course, Justin and I kind of talked about and have this network that we could, watch trains from anywhere. But at the time, we were operating a business that was building 3D content for a train simulator, and it was, very popular. So it took off. We didn't really have a whole lot of time for the train cameras. And along comes a longtime viewer at the time, Mike Tippins, and he approached us and said, hey, I thought you guys were going to put train cameras up all over the country. You know, when are you going to do that? And I said, well, we don't really have the time right now to do that because we've got another business that, you know, needs our attention. And so Mike Tippin said, well, listen, I'm an airline pilot. I can get around relatively easy. You know, would you guys want to have a serious go at this? And I said, well, you know, at the moment, it's basically bleeding lots of money, you know, because we didn't have a website. It was basically just stuck on a .com name. And, you know, the camera was free to the public, and we were basically going off donations. And, you know, we'd get a few donations, but not nearly enough to offset the massive costs that we had incurred, you know, getting into this. So Mike Tippins, we went and met him, we, you know, told him where we were at and what was going on. And he said, well, you know, let's have a go at it. We'll put some new cameras here in Folkestone and start here, and we'll go from there. And so we agreed. We met him in Plant City, Florida, at the newly constructed train platform they built there, and yeah, basically signed papers and started Virtual Railfan as its own company right there on the spot. So, you know, shortly after that, I think we added, I think it was Tower 55 in Fort Worth was the second camera, and I think that was followed by Thomasville, North Carolina. And, you know, at that point, we didn't really have time to build a website. So we decided to hire somebody. We looked around, found some guy, paid him, I don't know, I think it was about $3,000, maybe $3,500 to build us a website. And he basically took our money and ran. So we ended up having to build the website ourselves. So, you know, we got the website up and running, and, you know, at this point we had a couple of cameras. So, we decided to, you know, start charging a nominal fee to watch. And so that's kind of how the site and the company itself was launched. And it really wasn't until May of 2017 there was an update to our media server that we were using at the time. And that update allowed us to push out the stream not only to our website, but it allowed us to stream live to Facebook and to YouTube. And YouTube was something I was pretty interested in. You know, I created a channel just as a, you know, basically a placeholder. And once we, you know, it's kind of funny because Justin's a night owl. So he's not, I'm an early riser. Justin is not. He stays up late. I go to bed early. So it was a Saturday morning. I'll never forget it. I think I called Justin about 7:15 in the morning. And to say that he was less than impressed would be an understatement. But I promised him if he just did this update and got me on YouTube, that I would leave him alone for the rest of the weekend, which I think I did. But right away, one of the first cameras that we launched on YouTube, I think we were kind of going back and forth between La Plata and Ashland, Virginia. And, you know, right away there's, you know, cause YouTube shows you how many people are watching it. Right away it was, you know, it was 20 and it was 25. And so I'm thinking, wow, you know, imagine getting 100 people to watch. And, so, you know, within a couple days, you know, it just kept climbing. And, so we were all anticipating that mark that we hit when there was 100 concurrent viewers at once, and we hit it, and, you know, big celebration. And so that was really what kind of kicked it off. You know, while we're waiting around for those first 100 viewers to watch at the same time, I kind of look back at it and laugh now because, you know, this past month we average right now roughly about 12 million viewers a month from about 220 different countries around the world.
And is that YouTube?
That's just the YouTube channel, yeah.
Okay, wow. Yeah, that's pretty amazing. And I do see the live videos on YouTube, and I think there's like a small fee to be in the chat room on the YouTube videos. Is that how that works?
No, the YouTube side is primarily free. You can sign up for like a paid YouTube membership, but that basically gives you access to, like, you know, some extra things that the public doesn't necessarily get.
Oh, okay. So a typical YouTube membership. Okay, I got it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it highlights your name in a different color and gives you a different colored icon based on how long you've been a member, just to let the other folks know that, hey, you know, we love this channel and we actually financially support it. And, you know, our members are great. The finest group of folks I think I've ever met. I've done a lot of events around the country, and it's always a pleasure to meet people from literally all over the world. Many friendships have been formed. In fact, I just was hanging out with a couple last weekend in La Plata. They actually met on our chat. He lived in Virginia and she lived in California. They met in person. The next year they met in person at one of our events. And then the year after that, they're getting married. So while we've probably been responsible for a couple of divorces, this is the first time that we've had a wedding as a result of, the community that's been formed. And it's really fantastic. It constantly blows my mind on a daily basis.
Well, speaking of divorces, and actually it's just the opposite. My wife, she just ignores me, but I've got the website membership, and so I call it the Brady Bunch boxes. I've got 9 boxes, and I project it up on my TV using Chromecast, and I'm watching 9 different locations at one time, which is it's I'm addicted to it. It sounds like it'd be like watching paint dry, but
I've seen the setup. It's quite scary.
Yeah. Ray and I are friends on Facebook. I'm always taking pictures of it and putting it on there, and then like for instance, I'll see a BNSF train with an executive scheme locomotive, and so I'll turn to my wife and say, "Look at that executive scheme," and she doesn't even look up. She says, "Yes, dear." The website is it's virtualrailfan.com, isn't it?
Yes, correct. Yep.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're into rail fanning, you can go over there. There's a bunch of things on it. You can see what events and stuff are there. But 99% of the time when I'm on it, I'm going to my dashboard and watching all those trains. And but you can also watch the live streams on YouTube as well, and help support it by taking out a membership. So how many locations do you have now?
I think right now we're sitting at 54 as of today. Might be 55. So we're in 28 states, sitting right at about 104 cameras, I think is the current number. But those numbers never stay the same. We've got 2 installations scheduled now, another one here in Tennessee, and then Alabama coming up probably in the next couple of weeks. And we're always looking for new locations, whether it's, them finding us or us reaching out to them. There's plenty of space left. This year we're kind of trying to make a westward push. We've got the East Coast and Midwest covered pretty well, and, several spots on the West Coast, but we have this void in the middle part of the, western part of the country that we're really trying to kind of make a push for now. And it's,
I saw Wyoming.
Populated areas.
Yeah, I saw Laramie, Wyoming is topping one of the lists for new camera. I don't know if you ever hit that one or not, but I did see that one was getting the votes for give us a camera.
Oh yeah, Laramie. We installed the camera in Laramie a couple of years ago, and it's on the historic Laramie Depot.
Oh really?
Great footage there. And in fact, that's a spot that's somewhat unique to our network. We've never had a train camera hit by a train except for Laramie, Wyoming. I think it was last year, the year before, there was a 55, 60 mile an hour freight train coming east, and I don't know, probably about 30 cars deep into the consist, there was a couple of hoppers, open top hoppers that were tarped, and the tarp had come loose. And so there's 2 cameras there. There's a pan tilt zoom or a PTZ camera. And there's also a static camera, and the static cameras are the ones that are just fixed; they don't move. And so on the static camera, you could see this coming. You could see the tarp, swinging out, and there was probably close to 50, 60 mile an hour winds that day. So it was blowing to the side of the train, and it had come loose, and it hit the pole in our camera, our PTZ, and it sheared the PTZ clear off the mount, and it's a steel mount, so it's. You can tell, obviously, it took some force to do that. And, apparently a 55 mile an hour freight train is enough force to do it. So, it came by, the tarp caught the camera, and the camera stayed live in the air for about a second or 2 before the cable came unplugged. But they finally found the camera about 75 to 100 feet north of where it was permanently mounted. It had come, had flown off, and about 3 tracks over, they found it and brought it back. Our static camera survived and caught the incident. You could see it when it hit the pole, and it certainly moved that pole quite a bit. But yeah, they found the camera and mailed it back to us, and it was relatively in one piece. It just had a lot of stuff rattling around inside that obviously shouldn't be rattling around.
Yeah, Wyoming's a really big railroad state. Big Boy is there.
No, that was Laramie was one of the first spots after Union Pacific announced that they were going to restore and run a Big Boy. That was the first camera that ours caught, the Big Boy, and it was kind of it was great. I think we had over 8,000 people watching live at the time, and of course the camera behaved perfectly all day. And then you see the headlight of the Big Boy come around, everybody's excited, and the camera started to spin, and I almost had a stroke. Luckily, it only lasted for about a half a second, and then it was back to normal and never had an issue after that. But of all the times to have that issue, it was right then. But we were fortunate it didn't affect anything. But, had over 8,000 people watching at once for the arrival of the Big Boy into Laramie.
That rivals CNN these days.
We actually do better than CNN and MSNBC in several demographics on a regular basis.
So, no surprise here, but I'm actually as much or more fascinated by the channel itself as I am the content of the channel. And what I love about this is you're doing a lot of the stuff that we talk about in here. You have on your channel all these live streams, and quite literally right now there are thousands of people, because I'm sitting here doing math, and there are thousands of people watching your live videos from across the country right now, which is great. But I also see like some of your videos. I mean, we're talking, for those listening, we're talking about videos, some of these, 2.1 million, 2.9 million, 2.3 million, 1.3 million, 1.8 million. So you're getting a lot of views on this. And I was blown away by this because I was not aware until Steve started talking about this particular hobby. And man, oh man, I'm just blown away by how many people are watching these things. So tell me a little bit about your YouTube strategies as far as getting traffic, how you're monetizing it, and things like that.
Well, I can tell you, it still amazes me every day. I think every 48 hours we average about 750,000 viewers every 48 hours that are watching.
Nice.
We're quickly approaching 370,000 subscribers to the channel. And on a regular basis, like I said earlier, we average about 12 million views a month from all over the world. And it's just, it's wild. You put it up, put the cameras up, and people come, and they come to watch. But what we quickly discovered early on is, these cameras have a major economic impact to the cities that we're in. So we tend to, try to partner up with museums, towns, cities, municipalities, folks that would benefit from foot traffic. And we quickly learned that, half of what we do is watch trains, but the other half of what we do is we're ambassadors for the locations that we're in. So when a camera goes up, it doesn't take long. In fact, I've been on installations, with Justin, and we're still doing the installation, and people are already showing up to the spot before the camera's even live. One of our stories, and it's amazing, Fort Madison, Iowa. We had been working with the city to put a camera up in Fort Madison, and we ran into some issues with, getting internet at the time under the railroad to the other side, and it wasn't quite working out. So we were approached by the Kingsley Inn, and the owners went ahead and funded the cameras, and they asked their manager, Shy Easton. They said, we'd like to see, I think it was like 32 room nights sold over the next 2 years to cover the cost of the investment of the cameras. And we did that, I think it was 12 days.
Wow.
So they had a very low occupancy rate prior to the installation of the cameras. I think it was down in the 20s. And now it's well into the 80s and 90s. And there's literally people every day either calling, staying, walking in. So it's astonishing the economic impacts of these cameras, because our viewers, they love to travel. And we've got tons and tons of viewers that go on these road trips and vacations. And, most people going to the national parks or going to Disneyland, and our folks are hopping in the car and going to Virtual Railfan locations to wave at the cameras. And, of course, when they're in town, they're eating, they're shopping, they're staying in local hotels, they're supporting local business, and spending their money in the towns that we're in.
Tell us a little bit about the types of cameras that you use.
So the entire network is composed of Axis. Axis is the brand of cameras. They're quite expensive, which, that's obviously not so great for us. But at the end of the day, the famous saying, you get what you pay for, you really do. They're bulletproof. Very rarely do we have a camera problem. Usually it's internet issues or, things like that. The cameras are relatively bulletproof. And really the only reason we take them down is Axis is pretty good about keeping up with technology and coming out with, new models and whatnot. So we tend to tend to stay up on that. And usually when Axis comes out with a new model or a new camera, it's not something small. It's usually something major and well worth the investment. So, yeah, it's the entire network right now. All 104 cameras are all Axis products.
Yeah, we use some Axis cameras as well. So very, very good cameras.
How do you maintain them? Do you have somebody locally that if a camera goes down can go out and fix it, or what do you do?
Yeah, well, before it wasn't that easy. It was usually one of us, getting on a plane or hopping in the car and driving out to wherever. But now that we've grown and the community's grown, we've identified folks kind of regionally that can kind of help out. So we got a great team of those folks. We've got one of our moderators, John, that he loves to travel, and while he's traveling, he's got his ladder and his cleaning kit, and he just kind of hops around the country and cleans cameras. That's really the only maintenance that's required. Unless something happens, a lightning strike or something like that. Generally, they're pretty much maintenance free, other than cleaning the glass. Pretty much maintenance free. So we're fortunate there.
So all you need there at the location is a high-speed connection and the camera. Is that it?
Yeah, we need power, standard 110 power, and usually, just to be safe, usually 10 megabits a second on the upload side would be sufficient for either two static cameras or one pan-tilt zoom camera. And in some locations we're fortunate we can get fiber, so we have way more than we need, and of course we can kind of up the quality a little bit. Other locations, the internet costs are absolutely enormous. $300-400 a month to get these connections in the smaller, some smaller towns. But yeah, basically just power and internet connection and a good view, and of course train.
I think I read something about you got creative in Norwalk, Connecticut, to get a internet connection.
That's kind of an interesting story. The Sono Switch Tower and Museum in South Norwalk. We had gotten in touch with those folks, and they were pretty excited to have a camera. So of course, one of the first things I started to do is, you look for internet services in town. And so I called the local internet service provider that would be the one in that area. And I told them, listen, I need a connection at this building. And, it didn't have an internet connection. And they said, well, we don't have services there yet. Let me get a hold of the construction team and we'll call you back. And as soon as they said construction team, I'm going, well, I think this is going to be a doozy. And about 3 days later, they called me back and they said, yep, we can bring service in. No problem. When do you want to schedule it? And I said, well, let's pump the brakes a little bit. I said, how much are we looking at? And they said, well, to get it from the street under the sidewalk to the tower. Now you're only talking maybe 40 feet at best. And the bill was going to be just over $53,000 to get the connection to the tower. So once I got back up off the floor and put myself back in the chair, we had to get creative. So we ended up finding a lady that had an apartment next to the tower. And she agreed to let us put an internet connection in her apartment. So instead of $53,000 for $53 a month, we were able to beam the signal wirelessly over to the window of the tower, and that's how that particular location is operated.
Nice. When it comes to the channel itself, and I don't like to talk dollars and cents type of deals, but we do. More recently, we've talked more about monetizing the channel through YouTube itself. And in the past, we didn't really do a lot of that. We did a lot more sponsorships and dealing with other, selling products and things like that with our YouTube channels. But now that YouTube kind of forces commercials and whatnot onto every video, we've started to really utilize that. Now, with your types of numbers, I would assume that you're doing significantly well in the ad market. And again, I don't want numbers or anything like that, but for everybody watching that has wondered, gee, should I bother monetizing my channel? Could you let us know a little bit about, is that worth it to get that monetized?
The second that you have the opportunity and meet the criteria, turn that monetization button on. That's been huge for us. Just the simple fact that it's allowed us to expand much quicker than I think we traditionally would have. And it's extremely expensive. I think we're probably close to $25,000 a month just to keep the cameras, just in bandwidth for these cameras.
Sure.
And of course, every time you add another camera, your costs go up, whether it's the internet or the streaming costs, and it's gotten a lot more complicated. So we've had to bring in more servers and different ways to stream and content distribution networks and all that stuff. But absolutely monetize your channel, because it'll allow you to grow relatively quickly, and especially if you have a channel where you've got a large following, it can be very lucrative.
The thing that I watch the most on YouTube is the daily grab bag. I'm just amazed by that you all are able to, you're running these cameras 24/7 and you got 100 of them, and you're able to pull these things out and make a grab bag out of it. And for those of you who don't know, it's typically maybe a locomotive with an unusual scheme, or a two-way where two trains are going by. Something unusual to look at. How do you guys do that?
You're never going to believe this. It's a one-man show. We have one full-time guy that strictly does the grab bags, and his name is Joe Paletta. Great guy. I can't believe he still talks to us. I picture Joe locked in this dark room, 7 days a week, 20 hours a day, just churning out these grab bags. And he's got quite a knack for it. He does an absolutely fabulous job. And that's strictly what Joe does. Joe just does grab bags after grab bags. He loves to do it. And of course, he's got a massive fan base. Everybody, you talk to or you meet, that everybody always says, has a comment or something about the grab bags. And they, he just kind of started this up a couple of years ago, and it quickly, kind of like Virtual Railfan, just quickly grew out of control.
I get a huge kick out of it.
Probably one of the toughest challenges with this entire thing is not putting up cameras on, rooftops and in snow and rain and everything else. It's maintaining a family-friendly environment in our live chat room. So, what I like to refer to as the Blue Army. We've got a team of over 100 moderators that also double as camera operators that keep the peace. And like I said, I wish I could name them all right now, but there's over 100 of them. The Army of Blue that keeps the peace. They do an absolutely fabulous job day in and day out. Making sure that it's family friendly, because of course with trains comes kids, and we want parents to feel safe letting their kids come on the channel and watch. And so to do that, you've got to keep it family friendly, because the internet is not always a family friendly place.
Talking about the grab bag, tell me about, because the grab bag is always showing something that rail fans are thrilled to catch. Tell me about Waka Waka.
Joe loves to insert comedy, throughout the grab bag, just kind of keep it light and entertaining. So I think that particular one was based on a coal hopper that had like a Pac-Man graffiti on it, and so he dubbed over the Pac-Man sound. That's what the Pac-Man sound effect. And then there's another one that's quite popular, is the boing sound effect. So whether it's a gate coming down on a car, a car driving onto the tracks, and of course, as long as there's no injuries or anything like that, because we're not going to show physical injury or any of the down dark side of what we do. It's not fit for family consumption. But the lighter stuff where a vehicle ends up on the tracks or pulls too forward and the gate comes down on the roof. that gets in the grab bag and that gets a boing sound effect. So usually on those videos, it'll be in the title somewhere or on the thumbnail that, there's, boings included in this particular grab bag.
Our thanks to Mike Sear, CEO of Virtual Railfan, for being on Video Marketing Madness today. You can check out Virtual Railfan on their YouTube channel or at virtualrailfan.com. And today's episode made possible by Movo. Get great microphone stands and lights for your videos at raislinks.com/Movo. And as always, let's wrap it up with the music.
He's Ray the video guy, yeah, Ray the video guy. His skill is where it's at, even if he's a little fat. He's filled with video expertise and has so much knowledge that you need. His YouTube ninja tricks can make your marketing so sick. He's Ray the video guy, yeah, Ray the video guy.